As you know, education is a bedrock of any society. Whoever doesn't highlight what I just said is not building anything. No matter the level of infrastructure, no matter what you do, if you discard education, whatever form of education as may be prevalent in that society, then you're not building for the future, which is why whenever anything happens in that sector, we're big on it. That's why we're having this conversation, because the ministry has done some review as far as curriculum is concerned, so that you don't have learning overload in that sense, or just learning just about anything because the subjects are available to be learned. Something that is relevant to the children, relevant to the students, relevant to the people at the tertiary level that will impact society. We're being joined in the program by Dr. Clinton Ikpitibo. He's the Secretary General of the Nigerian Union of Teachers. He joins us virtually. Dr. Ikpitibo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Good morning, for having me around. Thank you.
And I want to believe that you've seen, I'm trying to look at my books, I want to believe that you've seen some of the reviews that have taken place, which I would like us to speak generally to, because I don't know whether there is something as overeducation or miseducation, but you will speak to that. So from the review that has been done by the ministry, they've now restricted a few things in terms of basic education curriculum offering. That's what it's called. For primary school, that's from primary 1 to primary 3, just about 10 subjects. From primary 4 to primary 6, they have about 13 subjects, with some that are optional. Then junior secondary 1 to 3, that's JSS 1 to 3, they have about 14 subjects. I think there's also an optional one as well. And then for secondary school, I think about 7 or so subjects. What do you make of this review generally before we dig deep into whether this still needs further review?
Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this program this morning. Let me start by way of saying that curriculum review is necessary when we consider it against the backdrop of the changing, rapidly changing world of today. Nigeria cannot be static when the world is moving ahead. We talked about the world of today with its emerging challenges, talking about climate change, talking about demographic changes, talking about the pandemics, technology and the digital divide, talk about other emergencies. We actually have to agree that there's need for us to revisit and review our educational system, and the core and foundation of it all is the curriculum, because the curriculum is the totality of the student experiences that occur in our educational process. In fact, it is the roadmap and the guideline given to any educational or any about any given discipline. And so curriculum is very important to us because it is that lays the foundation of any educational system and defines what is taught, how it is delivered, and the skills students develop. It provides, of course, the clear framework for success as far as education is concerned. And so curriculum review or whatever is very important. And at the heart of it all is the teacher. The teacher who is not only but merely seen, which is a misconception, of course. Many look at teachers as mere implementers of education policies, but teachers are expected. These are the people who have the direct interaction, touch with the learners in a classroom situation, at the community, educational community level, and so on. And so they have to be brought into the fold from the point of planning, formulation of these policies, and so on. So in a nutshell, I think it is important that we talk about review of the curriculum of the country. And that, I think, is very vital because we have to move with time. and to be able to meet the demands of the 21st century. Yes, what you said is very correct. The federal government has come up with a new framework that is designed to reduce content overload, improve learning outcomes, and ensure Nigerian students are equipped with skills relevant for today's global demands. They've talked about the situation where the primary 1 to 3 has to study a minimum of 9 to 10 subjects. For primary 4 to 6, have to study 10 to 12 subjects. And junior secondary, 8 to 9. The senior secondary, 8 to 9. And the technical school students expected to study from 9 to 11. So these are all reviews that have been ongoing. Only recently, the Federal Ministry of Education has announced to all stakeholders that they've been able to go through some of these very reviews of the curriculum, and that it is intended, of course, to ensure that it will reduce the content overload and create more learning time for students. It has to reflect the government's commitment, according to the federal government, to deliver
all right, Dr.
quality,
if I can come in, if you can hear me, sir.
in
Dr. Kutibo, if you can hear me. Yeah, fantastic. So we had to just show our audience some of the things we're talking about. So maybe let's interrogate further. We'll speak to this, whether or not this is binding. I want to believe that this is going to be binding on all schools, whether it's private or public schools. That is my assumption. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the assumption I have in my head. But let's talk about the subjects themselves and how 2025, 21st century compliant they are, especially from the very inception, the very basic level of primary 1 to 3. Then we can build up. So we have English, mathematics, Nigerian languages, one of the Nigerian languages. That is even a subject of debate. Which language you now take? Because you're talking about over 400 and something or so ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. So maybe it's Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. There are hundreds of others who are not part of the major 3. So that is even a contentious issue. So I would like you to speak to that as well. I don't know why an Yoruba man will be learning Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo. Basic science, physical and health education, CRS or Islamic studies, Nigerian history, social and citizenship studies, cultural and creative arts, Arabic language, which is optional. I want you to speak to, do you think this is comprehensive enough? There's nothing that speaks to technology here, and then the issue around what language other ethnic nationalities should learn. Must they learn the major or 3 major languages?
Yes. Thank you very much. Let me say that the teachers and the constituency that I represent, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, is not the architect of these very reviews. You know, we have the appropriate government parastatal council that is in charge of this. But we are stakeholders, and anything that will bring about a positive change in the system, we are part of it, and we will definitely want to be. You talked about a language. Yes, we are very much aware of the fact that the major languages in the country, we're talking about the Hausa, the Yoruba, and the Igbo. And but you look at the national policy on education, it gives us a clear roadmap as to what should be done at the rudimentary level, the foundation level, like the primary level. That teaching has to be done with the native or that language of the environment. I must say, yeah, that I am an Ejoma from the Niger Delta, and it's left with this very environment to ensure that the Ejo language is brought to the fore, and the appropriate teachers have been developed to carry on. The national policy already covers that, okay, at that rudimentary level. at that, in fact, level of the primary education. And so I am aware in my own environment, like Bayelsa State, efforts have been made towards the teaching of a dual language at the primary level. So what we are really saying is that the national policy of education covers that. We cannot run away from the fact that we have major tribes and those languages that have been brought to the fore over time. But it does not mean it must be there. We must start from somewhere. From time, maybe we will be able, all other languages and tribes, whatever we may want to call them, nationalities, will be able to develop the necessary manpower and so on to be able to address those areas. Having said that, I want to say that the issues about a curriculum in this country is not without challenges. Today, we must agree with the federal government that they are actually trying to see that there are reforms. And like I started by saying that, considering the changes, the emerging challenges in the education landscape, based on the changing world, of today, rapidly changing world of today, there is need for us to move with time and be part of the global world. And so the relevance and the necessity for us to bring about reforms in our curricula, I think is germane and it's important. That is the point I was making. And going to the nitty-gritties, like I said, we are stakeholders, and sometimes when we say about challenges in this very process of developing curriculum and also implementing curriculum, one of the things we've been able, and we have been calling attention of the government to, is that area of not involving all stakeholders in the development process. Teachers are core in anything about education. They are the foundation. In fact, they are at the heart of education delivery. At every level, from the kindergarten to primary to junior secondary to senior secondary to the university. How far have teachers been involved? Because they know the needs of the societies. There is no place in all nooks and crannies of the country. We must agree that we must find a teacher. And these are the people that are dealing with the localities. They know the problems and the challenges, the needs of the society. How far have we been bringing these people on board in the process of formulating, planning and formulating these policies? And that's one of the challenges we have.
I'm happy you've dovetailed into the issue of teachers, which is a very fundamental question. So I would like you to speak to the issue of capacity. In terms of the capacity, do we have, first and foremost, do we have enough manpower? I mean, the real professionals, not the ones that are looking at it as a means to an end, just a hustle through because there are no other things to do. And this is what is available to do, so they get involved in teaching practice. I've been taught from primary to secondary to university, and I can tell, from looking back now, I can tell who was really a teacher that is doing this almost like it's a calling, and the ones that were just hustling. So talk to us about capacity of the people, these teachers. Do we have sufficient, or how significant, what's the level of significant numbers we have in terms of the capacity of teachers, especially from maybe what you know, and as well as their welfare, which is quite critical as well?
Yeah, thank you very much. You have really actually raised a very germane and important point. Like I said, teachers are the heart of every education delivery at every level. And
oh dear.
Until we make it a thrust in the country to ensure that the teachers, the implementers of these education policies, are brought to date. What I'm saying here is we've been talking about professional development of teachers. And like the times are changing, it is only obvious, and it's a given, that those that have been given the very important assignment and responsibility to prepare the young ones that will become the future leaders should be always brought up to date. They should be acquainted with the current trend of events, educationally speaking. And so in this area, you would want to ask, I would want to join you to ask, how many of the teachers have been given the necessary and needed opportunity to enjoy professional development, continuous professional development. That is one area we've been lacking. Today we are talking about the internet, expansion, which has also come with the issue of a digital divide. The fact, as far as these very reviews are concerned, they've been talking about the aspect of technical education, whereby skills have to be acquired by the learners from the elementary level, from primary to junior secondary and so on. But we must ask ourselves the very true questions, that how many of the teachers are we empowered? How many of the teachers are we giving the necessary, gadgets and tools to be able to deliver that technology in education that we are all earning for? Look at the Nigerian context. We are not talking about education in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, in Kano or Lagos. We are talking about education of all the children of Nigeria, because it is the fundamental right of every child to quality education. The child of the poor, the farmer, the market woman, the truck pusher, they are all having that same right to quality education. So what are we talking about these communities in the rural areas that, as we speak today, cannot even access common GSM? Yes, there are communities come from the Niger Delta that till this day you cannot communicate with them online by using the GSM.
Oh dear. All right. Apparently, technology doesn't want Dr. Kutibo to land on his thought. Dr. Kutibo, can you hear me? Oh dear. Okay. I kind of wanted to ask one or two questions to Dr. Kutibo, but apparently it looks like technology has another plan for it. All right, Dr. Kutibo, if you can land on your thoughts before technology cuts you out entirely in just 30 seconds.
Can you come again? It's not very clear to me.
I was saying if you could just land on your thoughts as we wind down because of the network. You were talking about the welfare and all of that. Just to land on your thoughts.
Yeah, right. Like I was trying to say, that there's actually need for the teachers to be brought up to date, for them to upgrade their own knowledge and skills, and of course, to be able to be innovative and to be able to resilient to ensure that they meet the demands of the 21st century. It is only at that where continuous professional development is brought to the fore to equip the teachers who are the core implementers of a curriculum in our schools that we can achieve it. It's not about formulating the policies. They are very good, and we join hands with the government to ensure that these changes are brought to bear. But we are saying that there are challenges. Talk about the resource allocations. Internationally speaking, the recommendation benchmark is about...
Yes, my apologies, we're totally out of time, but I must thank you so much for bringing perspective to the conversation. You're a key stakeholder. That's why we brought you in to have this conversation about the review of our curriculum from primary to secondary to technical education, just to reduce that load and review it to fit what is available or necessary for 2025 onward. Clinton Kutibo is the Secretary General of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, joining us virtually. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.